everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Bree Buonomo. Hi if you're new here, or hey if you've been here before. Today I am doing my October wrap-up, and this is the video where I talk about all the books I read, some things I wrote, and some personal life tidbits that I may not have included in vlogs. Mostly probably because I haven't vlogged by the end of the month at this point. So I have quite a lot to talk about, and I actually do remember most of what I have to talk about. So let's talk about some of the books I read. So in the month of October, I finished 4 books. Some that I had started in previous months, others that I read from start to finish in the month. The first one that I finished was Save the Cat Writes Horror by Jamie Nash. This is a Save the Cat book that kind of talks about script writing, but you can also apply it to novel writing, specifically on horror. It's probably the first craft book that I've read completely, and I thought it made so much sense to me. I very much used it for my outline in my current project that I'm working on, Massacre Mansion. I really loved it. I've been already, by the time I'm filming this, it is a few days after October 31st. So I will say that I've started to write my novel, and I've been flipping through this and going back and just like checking in on it of like what parts that I want to remember while I'm drafting. It's been so helpful. So if you are a horror writer, or if you want to incorporate some horror elements in your books, I think this is really great. And it follows a similar beat sheet to Saves the Cat. So especially if you like Saves the Cat already, then you should definitely pick this book up. It's a very quick read, but there's so much things you can apply and put into action pretty much immediately. Next, I finished We Do Not Need Permission to Rise, which is a LGBTQ+ poetry and art anthology. I do admittedly have 2 poems in this collection under my pen name B. Lopka, and it was a really great one. I will say I'm very honored to be a part of the Beyond the Veil Press family with the couple poems that I have with them, because they just are really amazing at putting together a collection. Like, the pieces make sense, they flow really nicely, and even when like I don't maybe jive with a certain poem, whether it's because of the way that it's written or the stylized version of it, or it just isn't like my favorite way of doing poetry, I still can appreciate the poems that are in there, if you know what I mean. So I loved this. I tabbed it up a little bit. There was a few poems that just really stuck out to me. And honestly, like, this would be one that, like, if somebody was struggling with their identity, especially like as a therapist, like if one of my clients came in and was like really struggling with something, like I would let them read it, because there's just such a large, vast collection of queerness in here, and there's something for everybody. And I think because it is celebrating queer joy, and it's not talking about the trials and tribulations, and or when it does, it's like, you know, trying to be inclusive. Like, there's the one poem that I loved, where we'll plant lavender. I loved this one. You know, you're not going to be able to do this because your family rejects you, but like, we'll be here. The community will be here to take you in, and like, we'll plant the lavender for you. We'll be your aunties. We'll give you our heirlooms, that kind of stuff. It was just very sweet. So I love this. It is linked down in my bio. Feel free to go get yourself a copy. It'll be worth it, I swear. Next, I read When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy, and I sat on this book for a little while, and I do think it's a 5-star for me. This was so good. It was like horror in the best way, where there were definitely things that happened and things you were like nervous about, and it was kind of freaky, and it worked so well, but like the themes were also so strong. And this is definitely a book about parents and grief, and trying to like be your own person when your parents kind of cast a shadow over you. I don't know, it worked really well. I actually read the afterword too by the author, and that, like, you know, I feel like the book should stand on their own, but when the authors add afterwards, I do think that like it can just add so much more depth to the novel, where they're coming from. And I just really appreciated Nat's afterword as well. And I just really like this. I expected it to be, I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was gonna be a werewolf story. It was not quite the werewolf story that I was expecting. There is a wolf, and it's more metaphorical than anything, but it was very good. And despite, I mean, it's not like a big book in a lot of ways. Like, it's only 292 pages, but this is a tall version, like in comparison. Like, let's just, you know, acknowledge that this is a little bit taller, but it read so quickly and so smoothly. Like at times I was kind of like, wow, like we're just cruising through this. I'm enjoying it so much, and I didn't want to stop reading it. But it does follow a struggling actress who just lost her father, but she never had a relationship with her father. Like she didn't know him. He abandoned her when she was young, and it's always just been her and her mom. And she is just really going through it because her acting career is not taking off the way she thinks it is. And then suddenly there is a child who comes into her life that is trying to run away from their supposedly abusive dad. And she gets wrapped up into this like supernatural problem that she was not expecting to have in her life. So yeah, great book. I have really enjoyed Nat Cassidy's work. The only one that I haven't read yet is Nestlings, but his next book was just announced too, and I think that's going to be good. So I think it's safe to say that I am a fan of Nat Cassidy. I have given all 3 of the books that I've read from him 4 or 5 stars, so solid time. And lastly, I read Local Heavens by K.M. Ferrardo. This just came out in October, but I got an arc of it back in like, oh my god, April or May. So I did enjoy this book, I will say. But unfortunately for me, it was a very slow book. And sometimes when books are written slowly, it takes me a long time to get through them. This was kind of, I read a lot of ebooks at night. So I'll read them before bed. And sometimes I might get through a chapter. Sometimes I might get through 4 chapters. Sometimes I might get through a page before I fall asleep. And so naturally that is going to take up much more time than if I was like reading it physically, like day by day, or if I'm listening to the audiobook. And even though I got this arc in maybe like April, like I said, I didn't really start reading it until June. I had another arc that I was reading that came out in June that I was trying to finish before I started Local Heavens. So it did take me June through October to read this book, which is kind of wild when I say that out loud. But I think the only downfall is because it was so slow and I was reading it at night, I never had the urge to pick it up and read it during the day. When a book really grabs me, I will do that. So even if it's an ebook, I'll be like, oh, let me like pull it up on my phone and let me read it. Or like I obviously I couldn't get the audiobook for an advanced copy, but like I'll put the audiobook on or something like that too. Like sometimes there are books where I just want to read it in all formats because I need to get it done with. This was not one of them, and it is a little tedious, but I think Chris is an excellent writer. I think I could like the love for Gatsby is so palpable in the pages. I love all the queer representation. I like the futuristic world, and it was obviously a lot longer than the original Great Gatsby. I think the original Great Gatsby is under 200 pages, and this book is like 400 some, I think. It's a long book. So I felt like it hit all the beats, like all of the beats of the original book, and didn't miss one, but it did expand upon some things. Like outside of like the pacing that I felt was really slow for me, it's just that some of the side characters, even though they got more agency, because of how long the book was, I felt like I wanted a little bit more agency from Daisy and Jordan in particular. I liked the changes with Nick personally. I liked that he actually felt more fully formed and realized as a main character, and we got more of his opinions rather than somebody who's just observing everything around him. He plays a part in it. But Daisy and Jordan were given a little bit more page time, and yet I still felt like I wanted just a tad more of it. But overall, the gripes are small. I did enjoy it, and I definitely look forward to seeing what Chris will do with her next novel. And I will leave her link down below if you're interested. She is a YouTuber on here, and that's how I ended up, following her journey and wanting to get a copy of her book. So, and that is all of the books I read. I only finished 4. I got really close to finishing another one, but not quite by the end of October. So now let's move along to some writing updates. So if you guys have been here for the last month, 2 months, I have been doing my bitter end challenge, which is just me trying to clean up house and get through some goals that I told myself I would do this year before the end of the year. And 2 of those goals are taking shape, I should say. I did create and complete an outline. I have a new notebook started. There's no real theme here, but I thought what horror-ish stuff can I put on this notebook? because I think like it's not going to take me the whole notebook to fill up with Massacre Mansion, so I think I'm going to have this as like my horror novels until it fills up now. But I did finish an outline. I did some scene exercises. I am trying to like find the voice and stuff like that throughout the month. I feel good. And I also completed a start of a playlist, although this one's a really weird playlist. Like normally when I make playlists, I do what the vibes are. This playlist, I tried to really get into the zone of 2004 because that's when my novel takes place. And I was really trying to listen to music of that time, which I love, but it doesn't feel like the novel itself to me, if that makes sense. Like I usually go for vibes of the novel, not necessarily like the time frame of the novel. So it's weird for me to be like putting songs just from like 2002, 2003, 2004 in a playlist, even if they have nothing to do with the song. But I will say the song that stuck out to me since I started this novel concept, and I do think it's both time relevant and it's like relevant to the time period, is Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous by Good Charlotte. That sums up my whole novel, I think, and that's pretty much the theme song of the novel. So that was really fun, and I'm ready to get writing in November. And I decided at the end of October, I'm gonna kind of do my own form of NaNoWriMo, but I have like, it's a little bit looser than NaNoWriMo, if you will. So my idea was, with my Better End Challenge, I wanted to write Massacre Mansion's first draft by the end of the year, which means that if I'm aiming for about 60,000 words, I could do two things. I could try to write 2,000 words every single day in a novel in the month of November as a high goal, like a stretch goal, and I could bang out 60,000 words in a month. Is it doable? Probably not. I'm gonna be real with you guys because I have a lot of things that we're gonna be doing in November. I probably won't even talk much about them, but there's a lot of birthdays, there's a lot of celebrations, I'm streaming and doing things like that too, but I have a lot of plans, unfortunately. So my realistic goal is writing 1,000 words per day. So we're kind of not in the nano territory where, you know, a nano was like 16, almost 1,700 words. But I would like to try to get 1,000, because if I do 1,000 every single day in the month of November, that means that like I have 1,000 words I can write every single day in the month of December to get my first draft completed by December 31st. And I will say this is just like an estimate. If I don't hit these goals, like this number, I'm not going to be mad at myself, but the goal is just to push myself to get a first draft done, because I need to let Vampire go. I need to let it sit on the shelf. I need to stop thinking about it. So I need to write something new and get on to the next bit, you know? But if I do get close to 2,000 words, like every day I get up to 2,000 words, right? That's less time to complete this novel in the month. So if I got to my stretch goal every single day, I got 60,000 words in the month of November, I can take December off of writing almost completely. So there's that. I don't think it's going to happen personally, but I'm going to try. I'm going to push myself to get as close to 2,000 words every day. Really, though, 1,000 words is doable, and I think it's more than enough for me. Outside of novel writing, the only other thing that I really accomplished in the month of October was drafting my first draft of a short story that I'm going to be submitting to an anthology. This is an anthology that is specifically requesting the ace spectrum, so asexual, aromantic, or like the gray aces, the demisexuals and things like that. And they want to be like, the character should be at the forefront asexual. So I did have a little asexual ghost paranormal romance that I wanted to write. I wanted to kind of give myself a palate cleanse from the horror. And while I did have a few people read the first draft of it and they offered suggestions on how to improve it, across the board everyone seemed to like the first draft and liked the intention of the story. So it was great because the range for submission was 2,000 to 7,000 words, and I ended the first draft at 2,700, so I had a lot of room to expand on this. And with the suggestions, I will probably be adding a little bit of words, but I have pretty much the entire month of November to work on that if I want to. I do need to submit it by November 30th, but I am trying to submit it earlier than that. I would like to submit it like by, November 15th. That way I'm not focusing my energy on two different projects right now. I don't want to be working on a short story and a novel, and that's my own doing. I could have written the short story earlier and I just chose not to. So there's that. But overall, we are finishing October strong, and our main goal is my Massacre Mansion, the notes that I have, the ideas that I want to play out in my reality TV show death competition, if you will. I'm excited because I do think, like, while there's a competition part, like a games aspect, it's not going to be the sole focus of this novel, because once the games start getting deadly, like, they can't keep playing the games, you know? It's not going to be one of those, like, the Hunger Games where, like, the game makers are choosing to, like, kill them. It's something else that is killing off the people. And I can't wait to play around with that. And I actually forgot, so I'm going to mention it real quick too, but I did submit a horror short story to Flame Tree Press's call, which was No Laughing Matter. I edited the story. It was a short story that was like 2,000 words, but I ended up adding like 1,500 more words, which I think was needed for the story. I wrote the 2,000 to submission. It was a flash fiction piece, 2,000 words or less. And I think the story did need a little bit more words to work properly. And so I did that. I'm happy about it. I submitted it. The only thing is I think it's a good piece, I don't know if it fits this call personally. So I might just get rejected simply because it doesn't fit the vibe they're actually going for. Even if I think my story is a bit ironic, it doesn't mean that somebody else is going to read it that way. So we'll see, but that's out in the wild, and I probably won't hear from them until the new year. So I guess I'll keep you guys updated when I get news. And on that note, now it is actually time to talk about my personal life. And yeah, I did a lot in October, which is why I kind of just stopped filming and recording things, because I was just boom, 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 doing. So I had a couple like fun little things. I took a yoga class in the beginning of the month, and I really thought I was going to be doing more yoga. And then the month just got crazy. And then similarly, November is shaping up to be the same. So I need to use my yoga pass at some point. I did start pretty well with yoga. I had my writing group. I went to a horror writing group. Other than that, in my book club, I had a lot of outings with people. I went to the pumpkin patch, and I had a season pass, which was really great. I got to go in for, like, with my season pass, that was a gift to me. I got to bring my husband with me as my guest, so like neither of us really paid for the pumpkin patch, which was really nice. And I got to do we got to do the corn maze, which was always my favorite growing up. I did it in 23 minutes. And the corn maze particularly, like, I don't know how other people's are, but like you stop at the stations and you collect all the pieces. And this one was virtual. They have a phone app for it. So I did collect every single piece in that corn maze, dragging my friend along with me in 23 minutes. So I think that was my personal record. I was very, very aggressive. We also went back to the apple orchard, me and two of my friends, because I had my season pass. They're two different places, but they're the same season pass. And I had to pick apples to use because it was the last weekend was Halloween weekend. So I picked my apples. That was really fun, and it was just a really nice day out. It was windy. When like the wind blew, it was really cold, but when the sun was out, it was so nice. And I feel like that was probably our last nice day that we had for the year, because now Pennsylvania winter is grasping us very tightly already. I also had a girls' night. We went to my friend's house for wine and dinner. We just did wine and pizza, and then we decorated some Halloween cookies. It was just a really cute time and just nice to like chat with people. I also went to a wedding as a tarot reader. It was a really cool experience. I got to do tarot card readings for the guests while they were doing their cocktail hour. And I will tell you, I was sweating the whole time, but my line did not stop. I had people there literally up until the DJ was like, get in your seats now. Like the bride and groom are being announced. So it was very busy. So yeah, but that was a really cool experience. So I guess that's a side hustle I do now. Some cool spooky things that happened. I did. So the horror writing group that I went to, the person who puts it on is Abby Vale, and her horror debut novella came out this month. It's called Writhe. It was very exciting. Got my signature. I also took one of the bookmarks so that I could read with it too. It's very cute. And I'm very interested to see like how this goes, but I think I'm gonna try to read this like over the winter when it's a little bit slower, because it is a quick read, and I think I'll bang it out pretty quickly. But I got to see her and celebrate and support her for her debut. I also went to an Edgar Allan Poe themed dinner. It was a 6-course dinner. It was phenomenal. And I was like, wow, this is so great. I'm doing so well. And then the main course happened, and it was this like hunk of meat, which was so good and too filling for me. By the time I finally got to that, I was like, wow, I'm so stuffed, and there's still dessert to go, and I want the dessert. But the food was excellent. Like, I loved every piece of food that was there. My Instagram is always linked down below. I did post a little thing on Instagram of all the food that I ate, and it was definitely very cool. So I guess this restaurant does this kind of themed Halloween dinner every year, and I would probably go back next year. It was a lot of fun. And I guess the only thing last to say is that I did watch some movies and TV this month. I binge watched Chainsaw Man, which is an anime, and I binge watched it because my friends pretty much bullied me and my husband to go see the movie with them. And I will say, I am a little uncertain of the anime itself. Like, I did not really feel like the anime was well put together. It felt very sporadic. It felt very unhinged, like, and not like the in a good way that it was fun to watch unhinged. It was unhinged, and like they had so many plots being brought in, and none of them were fully formed in this season. So I was a little nervous when my friend bought the tickets for us, and I was like, am I gonna hate this movie? Like, is this gonna be the worst time ever? And then we saw the movie, and the movie was really good because it had one plot throughout it, and I was like, why couldn't we have this the entire time that we were watching the TV show? So I do like Chainsaw Man now. The movie really did solidify it for me, but it's kind of crazy that like it took me the movie to enjoy everything that I've seen. And I just hope that maybe the second season, whenever it comes out, is gonna actually like have more cohesion to it, because I really think as a viewer and, you know, somebody who really enjoys storytelling, I need them to start really taking some plots seriously and stop leaving all these plot holes open, because I'm getting annoyed. But yeah, overall, I did enjoy the movie. I'm a little lukewarm on the show, but I will continue it now because the movie was good. And then the last thing that I did in the month was watch Midsummer, which was on my Bitter End challenge. So I did watch it. I had one night where my husband was playing video games with friends, so I watched the movie with some popcorn and my dogs, and it was really solid. I loved it. It's one of those movies that I think like the more I sit on it, the more I'm really thinking about like the themes, like the grief and the like how do we fit into society after such a monumental loss. And since I've been reading a grief book, in part for my own therapy practice, but also just like, you know, as an interest for me, I'm seeing a lot of like the how do you handle grief in real life with people, like as a therapist or just a human being, and how these themes were being portrayed in Midsummer. And it was very solid. And also, like, we love culty goodness, and Florence Pugh, for not having a lot of words in the script, did a very solid job. So I just really appreciate her as an actor. And that is it. That's my October. I feel like I was talking forever at this camera right now because I had so much going on, but we finished. We got through all of the things that I did. So let me know how your October was. Let me know if you did anything to celebrate spooky season, if you decorated, if you dressed up for Halloween, or you just did spooky themed things like watch movies or read horror books or things like that. I'd love to know. And also let me know what your plans are for November. Like I said, I'm doing like my own little version of Nano, and I am trying to draft a book in the month. But if you guys are doing something similar or your own challenge, I'd love to know down below. And that is it for me. So until next time, I'll see you then. Bye.